Hi, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Brent Duncan joins us as usual. Always happy to have Brent here, right, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. He's the man.
The man's over here.
The man that knows everything about everything. And
it's good to be here.
no complaint on the weather now.
No, it's a knock on wood. It's a great week. Let's hope it continues.
Perfect weather for sports.
Cold and it's been a miserable spring so far. Let's hope this week and next week, which is a busy week for us with sectional tournaments, that
right around
everything
the corner
stays warm.
We don't want to hear anybody complaining
Warm
about the
rain.
heat.
No, my grass is growing. I need to be cutting it. So,
some changes made in the schedule, I understand.
Yeah, today we've had a lot just because of rain outs and trying to get our conference games up. We've had to move some things around. So tonight our girls softball team was supposed to be varsity JV down at East Central for a doubleheader, but currently it's to make up the varsity game. It'll be a varsity doubleheader down at East Central starting at 5:30, and then the JV girls are going to play at home tonight against East Central. So we scrambled and found some umpires today, which is a task in itself. Got lucky with a couple officials whose games got canceled elsewhere, so probably because they're either traveling to make up a conference game for them someplace. So that worked out well. JV baseball's at home with South Dearborn tonight.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're down to only one official because one is sick. So can't find a second one. So, but he said he's all right. We'll be okay. And kids will be happy to play. And varsity baseball's headed to South Dearborn today. Girls tennis has changed from Union County today to Lawrenceburg to make up a conference match. It's also senior night, so we got Tori Hansen and Cheryl Garrison will be out at senior night tonight, and we'll go from there.
So a lot of things have to work together because...
Well, this time of year with all the rain, you get calls, and you always see that. It's kind of like the COVID days when you got that call from the AD. It's like, okay,
now what?
Somebody's calling to change something on me, and I'm sure that's the same when they see the phone ring when I make those calls. So, but I think we all understand at this time of year you got to get your conference games in. For like us, we were supposed to play Union County tonight in tennis, but since our conference tournament starts on Thursday, we got to get Lawrenceburg and East Central in before Thursday, and East Central's already scheduled for tomorrow. So. Just trying to scramble to get them so the girls can get their seedings in the tournament. So,
one thing after another.
Dominoes just keep falling. When one domino falls at one school, it just kind of filters around to the rest of them, it seems like. So, but that's the way nature is sometimes in the winter and the spring with weather problems. Fall's not quite as bad because you can pretty much do fall in the rain, but hard with baseball and softball to play when it's raining, and you can't play tennis when it rains because the courts get too slick.
Sure.
Balls get too wet. So, but that's the way it works.
The life of an AD.
I think we all walk through those shoes at times, and makes the job interesting. You have a plan when you come to school, and by 8:30 it's usually changed because something's happened that you weren't planning on or whatever. So
Makes time go fast, though, huh?
Well, it's like today I had to have my own personal appointment this morning, and I got back to school about 9, and it's like all of a sudden it's 11:30. It's like, where'd the morning go already? So just trying to catch up and make changes. So
every time the phone rings in your office, you wonder.
I let my secretary answer first, and I decide if I need to reply right away. Plus, it's a name I recognize, and it's an AD, and I was like, oh, okay, I better pick it up.
It can be a real problem, but all you athletic directors have to work together.
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's a pretty good knit of guys and ladies to handle things and take care of and help each other out. And so, because I know at some point in time, somebody's going to call me and say, hey, well, Greenfield's already did that last week with Pendleton. We were supposed to have a Greenfield on Friday night, and they called already and said last Thursday and said, I can't play you on Friday. I said, okay, you got to make up the Pendleton game. Then he called me back Friday and said, hey, Pendleton's canceled on us. You still got your umpires? Does your field good enough? Well, field was still too soupy on Friday to even get on it to play baseball, so we still didn't play it. So.
Are we doing pretty well in getting the conference games in?
Yep, that's the one thing we will get in. So
good.
With golf, it's not quite as important because they'll have a golf tournament coming up next Saturday for the boys golf, and I think that's at Franklin County. So golf and track have their own meets, and tennis has their own conference at Greensburg starting on Thursday. So we'll see. But baseball and softball, those are the two priorities. Schedule or we lose a rainout day, those games have to get made up. So
is it different or about the same with when coaches find this out that they're going somewhere else or they're playing somewhere someone else. I know in basketball, they do a lot of scouting and they have their game plans and all that. Is it similar with baseball and softball?
Well, I think a little bit. If people are videotaping or looking at huddle, you can still do those things with baseball and softball. It's not quite as easy, but with Game Changer, they can all kind of much see each other's stats and stuff. So I don't know that too many go and watch people. Just don't have enough days, because when you're off, you want to practice, because you play so many games in a short period of time. So I think sometimes they're just happy to have a game. Doesn't matter if it's changed opponents or if we have to get on a bus, if we can get a bus. So sometimes buses are tight, just because of the number of either clubs or teams are using them after school. So you always try to get all those things to fall in place, and hopefully they do all the time. So
At this point in the season, they're not going to be making many changes, I would think, in strategies.
no, hopefully, Michael and I talked last week a little bit, and baseball teams have been playing a little bit better, so they hated to give up Thursday and Friday, because they're kind of playing better, and they wanted to keep that momentum going. So we'll see if they can jump out today against South Dearborn and get back on the right track again. So it might have been good for their arms to rest a little bit too. You just never know. So
Make a positive out of it somehow.
well, you hope, and maybe there's some kids that had nagging injuries that got a couple chance to just kind of relax a little bit and not have to do anything and strain your arm or your leg or whatever. So we'll see. Just the way it is. So
Is there a cutoff date as far as the IHSAA is concerned for regular season games?
yeah, you can't play anything once the sectional starts. So once the tournament starts, then all the games have to be over. So no more regular season games after that.
But how much time between the start of the first game and the sectional? Are there so many days, or could they play the day before?
No, they could play the day before if they wanted to. Most teams try not to, just to get some practice and some last-minute rest and not have everybody's arms fresh. So we don't play at all that week. We probably don't play for 3 or 4 days prior to the sectional. Just thinking off the top of my head. So just to give the kids time to get everybody back in line and get your pitchers back to where they can pitch. So with the pitching rule changes, it makes it harder. It used to be, 10 innings in 3 days, and it's not that anymore. So try to limit and figure out where you're going to start and where you want to stop, just so you can get your pitchers back in the line order that you want to have them in to go into the tournament with.
It's number of pitches, not innings.
Correct. So it doesn't take sometimes long to get to 60 pitches in a high school baseball game. Depends on if you're on an 80, you're out for 4 days, or 80, you're out for 3 days, and 120, you're out for 4. So got to get them all back in line so you have everybody come into the tournament with a zero pitch count, so to speak, for their freshman, and there'll be somebody counting the pitches at the tournament to let you know exactly where you stand. So it's all different than what it used to be.
In all the tournaments, is it one and done like in basketball?
You got it.
Okay.
Win or go home. Win or see you next season. So, unfortunately, that's for everybody but 4 teams. Well, I guess you could win more than one to be done, but when you're done, you're done. So half the schools are going to be done after one night. So,
but like track, individuals can go on.
Yeah, track and golf is a little different, and tennis is even different. As long as you as an individual keep doing well and placing in the right spot, you can advance. But baseball and softball, you're one and done. Where like in swimming, if you don't win the meet, you're out. So there's some differences in it. Sometimes it'd be nice if those individual sports were kind of similar in the way they work, but it's always odd because you think of having a tennis sectional champion, then the win next week is still the sectional and the regional. Sectional for some of the individuals and regionals for the team. And then if you'll watch at the end, you'll notice the state champion is crowned as a team member, then the next weekend the individual champion is crowned. For those kids who may not have been beat yet along the way, have an opportunity to still advance in the tournament because their team's been winning. So.
You'll be involved in any of the post-tournament activities?
As a fan, except for what we host next week. Next week's a busy week for us, so if we can keep the weather away for one more week, that'd be perfect for us. So.
Is that the baseball and softball sectional?
No, that starts the week after that. So next week we have Tuesday night is girls track sectional. Wednesday night starts the girls tennis sectional. Thursday night's the boys track sectional. Friday's the finals of the girls track sectional, and Saturday's the 17-team golf invitational at the country club. So
Busy.
we can get next week through without weather. We'll be all right. The only one if weather comes, it needs to come on Saturday. We can always cancel a golf invite and not make it up. But can't make it. You got to make the other ones up, so you got to keep the rain away for a
Well, the
little
hope
while.
is we'll have several weeks of weather.
That'd be good. And
Yes.
then the week after that, baseball and softball both start. So those are on the road, and baseball's at Rushville, and softball's at Franklin County, and we'll just be a spectator in the stands at those things. So
What's the admission charge to any of these events?
for the IHSA tournaments, they're all $6 except for tennis, and that's free currently. May change in the future. Regional's not free, but sectional is still free. So may change in the long run. But they started charging for cross country about 4 or 5 years ago, and they didn't used to charge for cross country sectional. So.
And you'll be in charge of that.
Yeah, we host that one in the fall. So it's just hard to charge at our place because you got to corral everybody. Got to figure out how to get them to the right spot. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna. That'd be difficult.
yeah, and we have a couple ticket takers usually in the east lot because the west lot you can't get to because we block the road off because they run across the road in a couple spots. So we try to block the road off on the west side. So everybody filters into the east side. So, and with the addition to the field house, nobody can park in front and just walk through like they used to as well. So makes it a little bit easier. And you just got to have some vocal people. And last year we actually blocked the road off on Spartan Drive and forced them into one turn. Now some of our people know how to get around to the second turn, but we locked that gate so they couldn't get through the gate. So there's ways to get around things. So
What do athletic directors do during the summer?
get ready for the next couple years.
Answer the phone. Huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of phone calls and try to make schedule changes. And anything else that comes up, get all your officials, make sure they're ready for the go.
So you don't close down for 3 months. And
No, not like people think, but no.
yes.
Any progress? I know you were trying to shuffle football schedule a little bit. Any progress on that?
Nope, still haven't got a word, so I'm just trying to figure out what my next step is. So be nice to at least get a return email out of 5 just to say, hey, I'm thinking about it, but haven't gotten anything. Of course, I don't know that maybe that guy's not in charge anymore either. I don't know that answer either. So
Maybe
we
you have
just
to make a trip down there.
maybe we just send them a little financial push in the mail and say, sorry, we're not coming. Here you go, and get what we want done. So I don't like to do that though. So
Right.
it's not good.
Right.
Does build good relationships. Of course, we're not going to play them very often, but you don't really want to have a negative view of what your school's about.
Yeah, and you never know when that guy may be somewhere else. He may move to Indiana, and you have to deal with him. And,
Right.
and
So you try
you
to
don't
do
want to leave a
everything.
bad taste in their mouth.
No, you try to do everything the right way and make sure everybody's on the same page. And just for instance, in volleyball, we don't play home and home anymore, but you still can. So Melissa and I just worked out where I said, hey, we play you on September 29th and we play you again on like October 4th. And I'd like to drop the September 29th game because we're going to pick up somebody that's not on our schedule, so we're not playing them twice within a 5-day period. So she was comfortable with that. I said the second game was the conference game, and that's at your place, so we don't take away your home game. And I got somebody that's willing to come to my place, so we already have officials on that date. And so the girls are going to play Monroe Central in volleyball next year. They also picked up Waldron because somebody else, North Decatur, didn't want to play us anymore. So they've got a couple new faces coming on the schedule, and eventually we'll try to get out of the home and home with Greensburg and home with Franklin County. So
Is that leftover from EIAC?
yeah, leftover. It used to have to be home and home, and then about 2 years ago they said we didn't want to do that anymore, and it's just a matter of finding teams that want to get on your schedule and fit in. So we got rid of 3 or 4 right away, and been looking for the last couple of years to get rid of the other 3, and finally got at least one's going off. So
I think you can play a team too many times. You do a home and home, and then you might see them in a tournament, and you need to spread that out and play others.
well, currently with our conference, within basketball and boys basketball and girls basketball and volleyball, they're all the EIAC schools. So if you play them home and home, now you're already playing them twice. You're definitely going to probably see them a 3rd time. And with Rushville, we played them home and home. We're in their tournament over there. So there's at least 3. Then you could see them in the sectional. So now it could be 4. And that's not good.
No.
So,
I always say it's like kissing your sister. Not that I do, but it's not the same.
no, it's different. So
Yeah.
it's always good to see different people.
Might there be additions to sports programs very soon?
Additions as far as sports?
Yes, adding sports to.
That depends. There's a possibility, but I
But you
don't know
don't
where
want
it's going to go. But IHSA recognized girls wrestling as an emerging sport and boys volleyball as an emerging sport now. If we have enough schools in the state to do those things, then maybe it'll become a sport.
Okay. Who determines the number that's
It's got to
required?
be 50% of the membership. So currently, that's 204 schools have to offer those sports.
204 school. Okay.
That's quite a task, right?
Well, it's hard. I mean, there's some pockets that have boys volleyball, and obviously girls wrestling is getting bigger, but then there's also districts in the IHSA, and if my memory serves me correct, you have to have at least 50 schools in District 1, 50 schools in District 2, and 50 schools in District 3 that also offer that sport. They all can't just be pocketed in one area of the state, so there'd have to be 204 schools spread out across the state that would fit into the sectional, regional, whatever the format might be as you move down. So.
Girls gymnastics, there are less and less schools that have that. Would that go away someday, or?
Well, the number of schools has actually increased, but the number of gymnasts have increased by about 100 over the last year and a half because there's a lot of individuals coming in at schools. That maybe a club kid that their school doesn't have gymnastics, but then they get a coach that will come and coach them for that school. When we had Franklin County or Union County had a girl do it with us for 4 years. Her mom was the coach, but they traveled with us. Now we have Franklin County's on their second one for the last 2 years. So. And she's just a sophomore, so she's got at least 2 more years. So, and who knows who else might be coming. I think they got a swimmer that might want to venture into that realm in a couple of years because they got a kid that's swimming in our cast club that's a Franklin County kid that they don't have a swimming pool and they don't have a swim team. So if they can get a coach, he can follow us to our events. And I just told them as
they come here, they go to East Central.
I just told them in middle school that one of their parents is from here, said just come back and let them swim on the team.
Right.
Then they can have a team experience and not just an individual experience. So, never know. Maybe
Yeah, because they don't get in any relays or anything.
No, it's just an individual.
Yeah,
so unless they get 4 kids, and maybe the hope is that he can recruit more. I don't know, but maybe in time Franklin County will build a pool too. That could be a possibility that I don't know about either.
So do they practice here?
They can't practice with our team. So like Joanne's gym's a little different because our girls practice and then the club kids come in after the high school kids. That girl can come into the club kid and practice. She can't practice with our girls on the same equipment as we're practicing. So it can't be coached by Joanne during that time either. Now when it's club time,
do whatever.
Joanne can coach her because she's a part of the club. So, but lots of little rules that people don't know about.
It's a lot to keep in your head.
I think I know most of them. I don't know them all, but if something comes up, I just get the book out. Or I used to tell Sandra Walter I was coming to the mountain for an answer. So if I don't know, I call them and make sure that I do it the right way. So
For girls wrestling to become a reality, what has to happen?
same as volleyball. Same number of schools have to offer it. So the rules are the same no matter what sport it
And
is.
how many would you have to have on a team?
Well, you'd like to have 14, but at least because that's how many weight classes there are. But no restrictions on how many have to be on the team.
I see.
So
You could have two girls wrestling and call it a team.
I guess you could. You would never win, but you find a lot of you could compete in a state because it's all individual tournament. So you wouldn't win a dual meet by any stretch of the imagination.
We've had girls compete with the guys beyond.
Yeah, actually, this year is the first year that the Northeastern girl actually placed in the state. I don't know if she placed. I know she made the second round. I can't remember if she placed or not. It seems like she did. She's the first girl in our place that's ever been on the podium at the Spartan Classic, and she got second. So she's the real deal. If you haven't seen her, she'll be a sophomore next year. She stays at 106 pounds. She's got a chance to compete as she moves along. Because a lot of times just the size and strength take over because of the leverage and whatever. But at 106, most of those kids are.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of difference between a 106-pound girl and a 106-pound boy when you're wrestling. So, and she's a solid wrestler. So,
It's interesting.
Well, it should be interesting if that ever occurs here shortly.
well, I think if it does, there'll be more girls that wrestle because a lot of girls may wrestle but don't want to wrestle the boys.
Okay.
So I could see more girls coming out if it was just a girls' sport. But
And I would think maybe, without getting too deep into the weeds, that the boys don't necessarily like wrestling against girls either.
When you talk to some of them that have to wrestle, it's like they feel like sometimes they're in a no-win situation. That if they win, they should have won. If they get beat, then it's like, uh-oh, you got beat by a girl. Not that they shouldn't, because I know like my little girl from Northeastern, she's going to be a lot of 106-pounders. She's in the state finals for a reason. Doesn't matter if she's male or female. She's there because she's a good wrestler. So.
Then that makes me think about the girl down at East Central that was
Kicks the
kicker
field
for a
goal.
football team, and she could.
Yeah, she's a soccer player too. So
Yeah.
then Dad kicked for LSU or something like that. So I'm sure he's practiced with her quite a bit. So, but I'd said a long time ago to Bobby Cox that maybe 10 or 15 years now we all have co-ed teams. You know, with the way society's going, and you never know what it's going to morph into. So I thought that might be a possibility coming down the road, that instead of having individual boys and girls, you got co-eds. So certain sports I can see that happening in.
Certain ones.
So
Ones that require strength.
makes a difference unless
I don't think it's a good thing.
unless they start putting rules on, like this quarter, if you take basketball, 3 guys and 2 girls have to be in the quarter. Next quarter it's going to be 3 girls and 2 boys. Or who knows what they might put in place.
Yeah, they keep messing with the game.
They mess with every sport we have anymore.
Yeah.
So good or bad.
Girls and boys playing on the same basketball team, you're saying.
I wonder if it'll ever get to that.
I hope not.
The way things are going, either.
It was my first year on the board, and that was one of the things. Where do you see sports going? And that was one of my first thoughts of what it's going to be like with, at that time transgender was just starting to come out, and at what point in time will there be co-ed teams and not just male and female?
So there'd not be a boys team and a girls team. It would be.
Maybe there's 3. Maybe there's a boys team, a girls team, and a co-ed team. I don't know. But
You're making it pretty confusing for people.
I just think how things may change in the next 10 years, that could be a reality.
I know what you mean. Yes.
So, good, bad, or indifferent, it's just the way it's going to be. And, will that be a possibility of a sport or a makeup of a team in a high school situation? So, you never know.
Well, some of us hope it stays the same.
Well, the only thing that's constant is change. So, by that time, I'll be long gone and retired. So,
We probably won't be doing this show anymore.
well, you never know. It just depends on how fast things want to turn sometimes. So, if it gets too much longer, I know I'll be retired. So, I don't know what that date is yet, but I know it's closer than farther.
Well, you retire, you still, you might come back and sit in my seat, and I could go do something else.
I don't know about that. So, maybe I'll just play golf and mow yard and swim in the pool at home. I don't know.
That's not bad.
Oh, no stress.
The future is bright for you, I would say.
I'm hoping.
Oh, I hope so
Whenever that day
too.
gets here. So, my wife may have to make a lot of adjustments to me being home, but I might put her in a quandary. I don't know.
She'll say, go get a job.
She might. After 40 years of being married, maybe we're married because I've been gone for 40 years. So,
But sports is fun, and without it, life would be dull.
well, I think the atmosphere at the high school changes so much without the extracurriculars, whether it's sports or the drama team or the choir and the band and the clubs. The more those kids can get involved in those things, the better high school
Sure.
years that you have experience-wise is going to be just the memories that you get to take with you. I can remember my teachers. I don't always remember what we taught, but I remember a whole lot about the sports teams I was on and the guys I did them with. So I think there's a lot more to be gained than just winning and losing in athletics. As we all know, it's just the 8th period of the day. So you leave school after 7 and you just go to your 8th period class, which just happens to be athletics, but it's just like a classroom. So.
Yeah, as a coach, your number one job is molding these kids into good citizens.
Yeah, and the same as teaching. You're trying to teach them to be good, responsible adults and, take care of what your business is. And the same thing on the athletic field. You're still teaching. It's just in a different world.
Right. That's what it's all about.
So, and we have a lot of quality coaches on our staff, and I think all of them
Sure.
care about our kids and have their best interests at heart. So,
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah. And
I don't think all the people always agree with that statement, but I don't think any of them go out towards the idea of trying to lose or put a bad product on the field or on the court or on the course or on the pitch in soccer or wherever. So,
But I also think that parents and fans have to realize that coaches are there to do those things, but they're there to win as well.
yeah, I think as farther up you go in the chain, the winning does take a little bit of place. Maybe in the middle school, it's more about getting everybody time because you don't know who may or may not develop, who may move away, who may decide not to play, who has a conflict or whatever it is. But, eventually there is a winning and losing to that side. So, you get to the varsity level, there's no guaranteed playing time. There's no guaranteed signing contracts. So let's hope it never gets to that point. So, and we've had that question even 25 years ago, how much time is my kid going to get to play on the team? Well, that was his last day of tryouts because Dad didn't let him come back because we didn't put a guarantee on there.
How can you?
You can't because there's just no way to set that limit because if one thinks that are getting in, 22 others want the same thing. So,
and parents have the tendency to think that their child is an all-star, and in their minds they are.
Sure.
But you got to face reality too.
Yeah, I think it's good to be an advocate for your kid, but there's always, as one person told me this year, well, you're not going to be very good because we're not going to be here next year. And I think of the bucket in the water. You take one drop of water out of that bucket, it still looks like a full bucket. So we always miss our kids and we always miss the seniors that leave, but there's always someone coming in and take their place. And unfortunately, if everybody was a Division I athlete or professional athlete, we'd have more than we have playing and making money. We all know that that's not going to happen, and we all know that after high school, 97% of our kids are going to be done. And that's just the nature of reality. And 3% are going to go on and play someplace in college throughout the United States, and 1% of them are going to be at the big time. And then what percent of those big time make it to the NBA is probably less than 10%. So by the time you take all the Division I athletes in the country or around the world that don't even play in college, and then put them in sports, there's probably a very minute percentage of kids who make it, which means there's a lot of great athletes out there that can't make it for whatever reason. So,
Part of life. It's competition.
If everybody was a winner, then everybody'd still have all their businesses and all their banks and all the car factories and all those would still be in place the way they used to be. But things change and morph. And
everybody with a trophy.
Sometimes, unfortunately, but that's what some people think. So.
When a coach is required, when someone says, I want to become a coach, what do they do? What's the process they have to go through?
Well, it depends on what you want to coach. It's more and more late coaches, so then it's just we got to talk to you and got to do background checks on you. And
Okay.
it's always nice to have people that's been through the education system because you learn how to deal with kids and you learn how to handle the situations. And not that there aren't great people out there that can do that without going through that, but lots of little things that have to take place before somebody's there because there's an interview process and all that goes on.
School board has to be involved?
They would have to be the final okay.
Okay.
So we're just the recommenders.
Did it used to be that there were certain sports that you couldn't have a lay head coach?
Used to be football, basketball.
But you can now?
Can now. Damon Bailey was probably the first one down at
that's
Bedford to coach his kid, his girl. So used to call it the Damon Bailey rule. So, but now you find lots of them around the place that are lay coaches that are in positions. And we have quite a few on our staff. Coach Biley's a lay coach. And, does a great job with soccer. And Coach Reynolds, the assistant. And we have a less now than we used to for a while, which is great because our teachers are out there and they can go straight from their job to the practice area. Where if you're out, if you take Coach Biley, for instance, if there's a problem with the water company, he's in charge. He ain't coming to practice if something major's going on. He's got to rely on, Pastor John Reynolds and, Andrew Stein to help run practice. So.
And one of the advantages to have a certified teacher as coach is that they're there in the building most of the time with. Yeah,
for the most part.
Kids.
The most part they're there.
Sometimes they may be at middle school or elementary school.
But they have an ability to get a hold of the kid a little bit better and see them in a different light other than just in the athletic field. They can see them every day at school and see how things are going. So that's always a plus. So,
Brent, as always, thanks for joining us and bringing us a lot of information of behind the scenes in sports.
Well, we try. We keep everything as up front as we can and out front. So.
Thanks, everybody, for watching this edition of the Spartan Sports Report here on TV3. Good evening.